All right, guys, today we have a really interesting one. 21 Nissan Titan, 5.6 liter, 78,000 miles on it. It's got a crazy backstory. Let's get into it. Client bought the vehicle 2 years ago. So they bought it in 23. They bought it to tow a uh, coffee bar cart thing so they can take it to events and stuff. Okay, they had it for a month and a half and had an engine issue, I guess, took it in, and they said the engine needed to be replaced because it had sludge built up in the engine. They bought an extended warranty when they bought the vehicle. That was denied because of sludge. That's one of the things that really bothers me about sometimes extended warranties. Like, well, that sludge didn't build up in a month and a half, so when they purchased the vehicle, it had the sludge in it. They clearly wrote the warranty, and now it won't cover it. That's another whole side story, side note there. All right, dealership said it needs a motor in it. It was just too expensive for them to do, so they took it to another shop. The other shop put an engine out of a 2018 vehicle in it, and they had to make some modifications. Something about putting a sensor in or something that wasn't right. I don't know. Don't know anything other than something to do with a sensor. And then the vehicle wouldn't start. Spin over won't start. They were told to disconnect the crank sensor so it would start. Disconnect the crank sensor. Now it starts, it runs, but it won't go over 55 miles an hour in some kind of limp mode. That's the whole backstory. Let's get to this thing. Let's see what it does. Let's go ahead and start it up. And I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine that if it's got a crank sensor disconnected so it will start, then probably it's going to have an extended crank. Let's see. Yeah. So that's the engine computer guessing, where the crank is. It's trying to figure out when to fire the injectors and the ignition, and it took it a while to do that. So, all right, we got stuff flying out of the vents. It's been sitting for 2 years. So since they bought it, a month and a half later, engine got put in, and then it's been doing this ever since. So they haven't been driving it. They've been borrowing somebody else's vehicle. So it's been sitting for 2 years because of this issue. Let's see if we can't get it inside. We're going to get it in.
For a ride? See if it goes in the limit?
I have no desire to take this for sure. He wants to know if he wants to take it for a drive. I don't need to take this thing for a drive. There's no reason to get it hot. Let's go ahead and get it in the bay. We've got the scan done. We've got lots of codes here. We've got 10 codes in the engine module. We've got a transmission code, ABS code. Let's go ahead and run the report real fast. Let's just see what we've got in what here. All right, crank sensor circuit, makes sense. Engine communication, lost communication with the grill shutter. LIN communication, which is probably where the grill shutter is on. LIN communication, grill shutter, there we are. O2 sensor, crankshaft position, O2 sensor. And then we've got engine signal 1. More than likely, the analog brake code is because of the crank sensor, although it says passed there. Cruise. Don't care about any of that. All right. Intelligent cruise. Sun load sensor, probably because we're inside. Transmission control module, starter relay B. And then transmission and stuff. Okay. All right. We know the crank sensor is disconnected because they said that's the only way it's going to start. What I need to find now is, this is my train of thought here. I want to get a crank sensor. I want to get a crank cam correlation on this, for this right we have here. Then I want to get a known good for this vehicle. Hopefully somebody's got a known good for this vehicle. And then we might possibly have to go in cylinder and see where the firing events for the injector and the coil are in relation to the compression. But hopefully we can just find it with a cam crank correlation. That's what my thought process here is. I looked in all data, no information on where the crank sensor is located. Cam sensors, I just looked under here real quick. Cam sensors are easy. We got one, and somebody mentioned on the video that I can do, whoa, not that, all right, that. So I can do the light and the laser. So we've got the cam sensor located right here, right there, right? And we have the same thing on the other side. So we know where those are located. There's absolutely no information. I looked in all data, has nothing. All it has is parts and labor. I looked in Motologic. they actually have a good picture, and so does ProDemand. So they tell you what the crank sensor does, but here's what they've got in there, and ProDemand has it also. They've got a nice picture of. Hopefully, this will be what the signal is supposed to look like, and actually be timed up like it's supposed to. So this would be hopefully a known good for this vehicle. Real fast, let's do this. I'm going to do this really quickly here. Let's pull up another ProDemand window, and let's jump into a 2018. All right, let's see what the crank sensor on this one says. Let's see if it shows that same operation. Looks the same thing to me. Now that could be just a generic. I'm flipping back and forth now between these two tabs, and literally it's the same exact thing. Again, doesn't show where it's located. Wait a minute, that's 2121. Here we go. Go out of that. Doesn't show where it's located. Doesn't show anything else at all. So if that is the correct alignment, then that would now concern me that maybe it's not what I thought it was. Maybe it's not going to be a wrong flywheel pickup or crank sensor pickup. Let's go ahead and put this thing up in the air. Let's see where the crank sensor is located. We're going to find it because it's disconnected. Let's take a look. It's going to be, my gut says it's going to be on the flywheel. Or close to it anyway. Here we go. Here we go. We've got a, what? We got all kind of fun under here. What is that? All right, so, gosh, sorry guys. I'm trying to learn this thing. All right, here we go. So there's our crank sensor plug-in, disconnected. So we're trying to get a good view of it. Crank sensor's right there.
That light is making it hard to focus for some reason.
All right, let's go ahead and turn the light off. Turn the laser on. There's the crank sensor. Oh, he's coming back. All right, so there's the crank sensor. Crank sensor plug, crank sensor's up there. But look at the other fun we've got right here. What is this? That is not good. All right, I'm going to have to get where you're at now. Pink and blue wire going to pink and blue, and that is not a proper repair at all. That's two crimp connectors. At least they're heat shrunk, but they're like spade and male and female spade connectors. That's, I don't know what in the world that goes to, but that's not good. I can tell you that. All right, let's not get sidetracked. We've got our crank sensors, our crank sensor. We know where our two cam sensors are. I'm going to plug this back in. Oh, there it went. All right, so it did clip back in. All right. So, how do I want to do this? I can back probe that pretty. I'm not going to say it's going to be the easiest one to back probe because I'm not going to be able to see what I'm back probing, but maybe. That's tight. All right. What I'm trying to figure out right now is I've got a back probe. I've got to get a signal. I got to get into either the crank sensor or the cam sensor. So I got to figure out how to get into them. My choice now is to get it at the sensors, the signals, or at the engine module. All right, coming back down. Found the engine control module. It's located. Let's see how easy it is to get to. Well, I didn't really look under this hood real close. I'm kind of going towards a thing here, but we can see that we got covers missing over here. Here's our engine control module right here. And honestly, I don't want to pull. I could get in here and just take this connector apart and get into the back probing into here. That's going to be, first of all, really intensive to do that. This is a pretty short harness. It's right there. That's not going to be the easiest route. I'm gonna do this at the sensor, at the cam sensors, at the crank sensor, and just try to make life a little bit easier, as easy as it can be made. So let me. I'm going to pull up a wiring diagram here. I found the wiring diagram in ALLDATA. There's 4 cam sensors on this. There's one for intake, one for exhaust on each bank. So we're going to get into all 4 of those. I'm going to jump back over to this Pro Demand real quick. I want to see, but there's a phase sensor and then a regular sensor, because if we look at the known good on the Pro Demand and in MotoLogic, that's only showing 2 cam sensors. Maybe one of them's a phase sensor of some type. It does say phase. It says phase. It says camshaft position sensor phase bank 2, and then exhaust valve timing control position sensor bank 2. So I'm going to look through here and see if I can't find the other ones now. I still got to find crank sensor because I want to know which one. All right, so here's our bank 1. And our bank 1 exhaust valve control, same thing, but bank 1. Let's run over here. Let's see. Camshaft position sensor bank 1, and the engine module shows it going to. Okay, all right. So the phase position sensor, the camshaft position sensor phase bank 1, that's our camshaft position sensor. So when we scroll over to the engine control module, I'll show you. Let me show you. We come in here and we see, so here's the 2 sensors, right? And then we can see that this one has 2 spots where they're connected to each other. So this one and this one and this one and this one are connected to each other. So we know those are going to be common powers and grounds. So we're not worried about those. What we're going to look at is going to be this white, red, and this pink. So if we follow that pink, let's just follow this pink one up and the white, red one up. We can see how those are going to go across, and for some reason I can't get this to highlight. Let's see if I can't get it to highlight. There we go. Wouldn't highlight a second ago. Still having trouble with it. There we go. All right, so that's highlighted. Let's highlight this one. There we go. All right, now let's go across until they come into the engine. There we go. So the white, red, we see says camshaft position sensor bank 1. Forget about this one. Right? So the white, red one is the one we want to look at. We go back over. And the white, red is right there. All right. So now we got to figure out the coloring is going to be our key. We want the one with white, red on bank 1. And then if we go to bank 2, so white, red on bank 1, let me write that down. Camshaft sensor bank 1 is white, red. And then if we go over to bank 2, it is going to be, again, we see the common ones are the light green and black, light green and red, pink, gray. Pink, gray. So bank 2, pink, gray. Got that. Now let's find, we got our cam sensors figured out. We're going to be able to get into those fairly quickly. No issues at all. Let's figure out our crank sensor now. A little more difficult to get to, so I want to be able to just get the right wire right off the bat. I know you guys that watch the channel a lot know that sometimes I'll just get into all 3 of them, or I'll pick the middle one, and if they're easy to get to, no big deal. That one is not easy to get to, so I'm going to scroll through here until I find, if I can get this thing to do what I want it to do. There we go. And we've got to find, this is, usually they're pretty close to the cam sensors. That's really strange that it's not down. Did I miss it? Let me just keep going around. I really feel like I missed this thing. There's the grill shutter that we know we have issues with. Not worried about that right now. I must have missed this on the bottom. You guys are probably yelling at the screen right now. You missed it, it was down there. Holy moly, don't do that. Oh, nope, I didn't miss it. All right, so now let's look at our crankshaft position sensor. Let's see which wire goes to what, because there's no, don't see anything common yet on that one. Let's click our 3 circuits so we can know. That one, that one, that one. Crankshaft position sensor, position, right there. So the red, white is we're going to want that one. I want to see what pin that's on. Because it's hard to see this thing. Red, white, pin 3. Okay, so where a lot of sensors, the middle pin is your sensor signal, where your 2 outside pins are your power and ground. In this case, it's not. On the cam sensors and on the crank sensor, the 3rd pin, pin 3, is our sensor output. So we're going to go red, white, and then we got the other one. So crank sensors, red, white. Crank, red, white. All right, now I got to get set up, get the scope hooked up to those sensors, get them back probed in, and then we'll be able to get our signal up, and then hopefully the signal that we see with the first thing I'm going to do is get a signal up and look at it. Maybe there's something going on with the crank sensor. Maybe I'm overthinking this thing, and maybe just the fact they put a motor out of something else in it has thrown me down this path, because we've seen it before. We've seen it, where you put something else in out of another year, and some small thing has changed, and you don't realize it, and then come to find out you've got a tone wheel that's made differently. I mean, they don't keep these, they don't make all these things the same indefinitely. They definitely make changes to them. So we're going to, but now I may be overthinking it, and maybe we just get in here and we've got it. Maybe we have a damaged tone wheel or something, or a crank sensor that's not putting out anything. It's possible, and I might be just thinking the wrong way. But that's why we're going to test. That's why we're not guessing. We're going to test this out and find out what the problem actually is. We are in the cam sensor here. The other one is back down in there. You might be able to see it down through that way. See it or not. Okay. The crank sensor was a little fun. We got, I had to unplug it so I could see what I was doing, back probe it, and then plug it back in. But we're in. We can see on the scope, just real quick from there, you can see how the red lights are off. So we know that we're connected to circuits. Hopefully, we're going to get a good pattern here and see what, hopefully see something that's off. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the pen. If we watch this, I can hit the pen, and it'll start the scope, and it'll also stop the scope because I'm going to spin it over a bit. I've never tried to start this with the crank sensor connected, so I want to feel what it's doing, and at the same time, I want to be able to control the scope. So let's see. Okay. Well, we can definitely tell that it was not doing the same thing as it did with the crank sensor disconnected. Let's take a look and see what we've got here for patterns at all. So the green, I'm going to write this down for myself. The green is going to be our crank sensor, and our cam sensor bank 1 is yellow, and the other one is red. All right. Let's take a look and see. Well, I can already see something funky here. Hopefully I didn't lose connection. Ooh. Let me turn that yellow one off. A lot of noise in this. All right, tell you what I'm going to do. Zoom out to full. I want to go in here, and I want to do that. Let's separate them out. Let's do it again because I didn't have the yellow on. Oops. Come on. This thing's in my way. Little marker deal. There we go. There we go. Either we lost something on the yellow, the connection, or, I mean, that doesn't look good at all. Let's go ahead and see what our crank looks like here. It's definitely noisy. I don't like that, but let's jump. Woo, that light's hot. That light's on my back. Burning me up, boys. I want to zoom out just a little bit here because I want to see very consistent pattern there. I want to jump back over real fast to the, I don't want that one, I want that one. And I want, there it is, I want that. All right, boom, boom, boom. All right, so it's that crank pattern looks like what we have on the known good, right? Because we don't know if that's a known good at this point. Let's zoom out to full. We'll go back in again. Let's zoom in again. This time we'll get that. All right, so now comes the fun part of lining up. So first off, let's get the cursors and let's take something that I see that's lined up when it was connected or when it was working, which is right there. There we go. All right, that looks lined up, but now is that lined up with something? Look up here at the top. So we can see it lined up there, right? But what's it lined up with up here? Let's go ahead and jump over to the known good. Is that kind of where it's at? And we can see, no. Look right there. Let's back off of that. And now let's look. We can see that we've got the double on 1, the single on 2, and it's lined up with a gap at the end of the gap on the crank. We can see it again here. Now we've got the single, the double, and then right after the gap. Let's jump back over to the scope. Oops. And we've got the single. We've got the single to the double, not on the gap. There's our problem. I mean, our problem is that the the cam sensor or the crank sensor itself. Now I want to see if before I go any further, did I lose connection on that cam sensor at the scope, and make sure that I did. So let's just look right there. Sure, you can do it on here. That's one of the beauties of this scope, right? That one is really difficult. It doesn't seem like it's difficult to get to, but couldn't get my hand in there. I had a 90. I had to bend the piercing probe at 90 degrees. I lost it. But did I get enough to determine what's wrong? Absolutely. And now I can look on here and go, I lost connection, no big deal. I'm not chasing down a rabbit hole of, is that cam sensor losing something? It's not. That's me with the scope. We can 100% see right now, without any question, does our crank sensor have a signal? Yes. Is it a good signal? Yes. So our power to it's good, our ground to it is good. But it's not in time with the cam signals, right? So the cam signals and the crank signal is out of time with each other, which is causing the issue. When we disconnect the crank sensor, the engine uses the cam sensors as, it's just guessing, where do I need to fire, where do I need to fire? It wants to run. I mean, the good thing about the engineers on these cars is they can do some pretty doggone good stuff. You lose a crank sensor, and a lot of cars back in the day, you're done. You're on the side of the road. This one will get you somewhere, put you in limp mode. Potentially, we think that's what's causing limp mode. I don't know that's what's causing the limp mode. It's possible. What is the pink and blue wire down there? That's, I think it was pink and blue. That's got the not proper repair done on it. Maybe that's something to do with the bus. We had LIN bus stuff and everything. But LIN bus, usually one wire. But anyway, not going down that hole. We know what's causing this vehicle not to start, and that's at the crank sensor reluctor wheel is more than likely out of time, or whatever it is out of time with what this engine module is thinking. So the next step on this vehicle is going to be to pull that transmission out of it, and let's see, if it's out of time, if it's out, can be lined up properly.
It's like the Scion all over.
This is like, remember that? Yeah, if you guys don't remember, there's a Scion that we did a video on, put his own engine in. That one, the tone wheel was a little different setup. The tone wheel was moved and it got put back in place, and the nub on the crankshaft was so small that it actually just indented the tone wheel, and it just was right there. We took the transmission out, moved the tone wheel, bam, fired up and ran perfect. Hopefully this will be the same thing. I looked up a flywheel for this vehicle. I looked up tone wheel, didn't come up with anything. The flywheel has got it built onto the tone wheel is built onto the flywheel. I've got it pulled up here. And if we zoom in, we can kind of see, I don't know how that's going to be off, because it looks like there's a wheel or there's a pin right there that looks like a pretty sizable pin. I don't know how somebody could get that off, unless maybe the pin's sheared or something happened there. Maybe the pin sheared or something. Anyway, this is part of why we do what we do. This is part of why we test and not guess. We know that thing, it's not going to be the camshafts out of time. The vehicle runs perfect. So it's not going to be the camshafts out of time with something when we have the crankshaft sensor disconnected. It takes us time to start up, but then it runs fine. The only thing it could be is this tone wheel is moved. We got to get in there now and figure out what we're going to find out. So we're going to pull the transmission out of this thing and look at it, and then come back and show it to you. Transmission's out, and we see here, we know it's a used engine. There's a dowel right here. It looks like it's in the spot, but we're going to get this flywheel off and this tone ring off, and let's see, does it move? Or I don't know. At this point, we don't know what's going on. Maybe there is, maybe it looks the same, or it looks like the part number was the same, but maybe something is, I don't know. Something is, I know what the problem is. We know it's with this piece right here. We just got to figure out where it's off. So let's get it off of here. Whoops. I like this little thing. This little thing's good. You got a little hammer? They stuck it in there. What is this? Just a...
Right angle impact technique.
I like it. Wow. It's got a good battery on it. Hey, Chris, you got a flywheel holder? You got a flywheel holder so I don't have to walk all the way back over to... He said, yes, I do. You bought 3 of those things?
Yeah, I bought all the grades.
$90?
No, 60. They're only $20.
Oh, $20 each. Okay.
They're $3.99 and then $17 for the snap-on.
Hey, look here.
You gonna use it before me?
I'm gonna need your oomph over here. We need a breaker bar with 14 on it. These things, the other 3 are, somebody got a little aggressive.
That couldn't be the problem, though, right?
No. Please don't break my hand.
We're not gonna go there, okay? Wasn't me, sir.
Yeah, it's got a torque on it. Everything's got a torque on it.
Fine. That ain't it.
I don't know. We'll know when we go back together. Probably gonna need some new bolts at this point. I don't see the issue there. It was on, it was lined up. That leads us to bigger problems, unfortunately.
You think it was like a Subaru?
Well, I was hoping it was going to be like the Subaru, but it was lined up, and it's not lined up. It's not in the right orientation, 100%.
Scope pattern.
Yeah.
Could it be different in yours?
Yeah, that's what now I'm concerned because the flywheel, according to what I looked up, now we haven't looked up actual, I guess we need to like get Nissan on the phone. According to what I looked up, they're the same. They're the same from like 2016 all the way through like 21, 22. But now I'm wondering if, I don't know.
Could it be the wrong flywheel on it?
I mean, it's possible, but why would they take a flywheel off of something else? I mean, it looks like it would be the same. We need to go get a picture of a flywheel. Let's do some more research. We know what it is. We just got to now prove out exactly what is causing it. Been doing some research. We know what the problem is. And here is why having the scope, having the knowledge to do this, and having the known good to do this is just absolutely imperative, because if you pulled this off, when, go look at that Subaru video, we pulled it off, it was clearly out, right? The flywheel was not on there correctly. This one's on correctly. So then we would chase another rabbit hole and go, okay, well, that's not right. I must have done something wrong. Put the whole thing back together. No. We know what the problem is. We went online here and we've looked up this. This is the flywheel that we just punched in. We looked up this vehicle, year, make, model. It says that it fits all these vehicles down here, right? So now, when we called Nissan, sorry?
That's this one here.
Yeah, that flywheel right here is this flywheel that we have here on the vehicle. When we call, and you see the part number right there. When we call Nissan, we get a different part number. So we call Nissan directly, got a different part number, and it matches this part number. 123319 Foxtrot Victor 0 Alpha. This one looks like this. Now I want you to see where the pin lines up. Here's the gap right there, and the pin's lined up with the gap.
No, we don't know if
Where-
it's 100%.
Whereas this one, the pin is in the middle of the teeth, right? Now, it's eBay. We looked on all the Nissan sites. If you go in and you put that part number in, I don't even know, we've got so many tabs open now, it's not even funny, but if you put that in, if I jump on to, say, any one of these Nissans, let's just open this one that I haven't even opened yet. No image available. So, we can't get a picture from Nissan. We've got a picture off of eBay that we're hoping is correct. We definitely know this one's wrong. So now we're going to order that part in. It's going to be a few days before we get it in. And then we're going to do a part 2 on this. So we've got the answer. We know what the answer is. I'm 100% confident this is going to be the issue with this crank sensor alignment issue. We got to get a part in here. So we're going to do a part 2. So you know what you got to do. You got to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you know when we drop the next video, the part 2 to this one. While you're here, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and let me know, do you think we're right or do you think we're chasing down a rabbit hole? Appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.